Afraid?
Here we go now. Batman scoop on the mic. Mixing the mix on the wheels of steel. This is what I was fucking born to do. Yes, let's go.
Hello and welcome back. In previous episode we have investigated how the additional slack or falling more affects the speed at which you would hit the wall. After doing multiple fall tests, we saw that 2 meters of slack reduced the speed by about 10%. One thing we forgot to mention is that how hard you hit the wall depends on the energy. And if you take a look at energy formula, we can see that speed is a power of 2 in it. And that means that 10% lower speed would result into 19% lower energy. So not that bad after all. And then we got a new hypothesis that additional slack would have much bigger effect in case the climber would be falling closer to the wall. So here we go. We rigged the same swing, but now with 1 meter distance to the anchor. Again, I used a heavy backpack to imitate a hard catch. So this was with no slack. And then as previously we kept increasing the amount of slack by 1 meter. And this time we're expecting better results, that the speed at the bottom of the swing will be reduced by more than 10%. And this is the last fall with 2 meters of slack. It was already getting dark out there, so sorry for a bad video quality. Alright, let's see the results. Not quite what we were expecting. All the falls produced almost identical speeds at the bottom of the swing. Alright, let's see what happens if we reduce the initial distance even more, to 0.5 meters. Here we did only 2 falls, due to the time constraint we had. The first one that you're seeing right now was with 1 meter of slack, and the second one with 2 meters. If we compare these two, we can see that falling more was even worse this time. So why is that? Let's compare all the hard falls we have done so far. From this, we can see that being closer to the wall created a bounce back effect. And that means that we were exceeding rope's ability to absorb energy. It became like a spring shooting the climber back up. So does it mean that falling more is actually worse? Well, not so fast. There is one more thing we forgot to test. And we're back!
It's 4th time we're here. Ben is super excited. Are you?
Yes!
Woohoo!
This time we're going to include a soft catch that we missed last time and hopefully get the different results. We will see what happens. Someone on YouTube asked if you're still screaming.
Last time I think I didn't scream at all. But I did like this.
So we spent almost all day today under the bridge and we did quite a lot of jumps. And now it's a fun part to get the data out of the footage. We film everything in slow motion, 180 frames per second. And we had these tracking points attached to the harness. They provide a good contrast for the software to track. And then we just let the After Effects to do its magic and track that point. And finally I go and manually tweak every point to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. And once we have a path, it's just a couple of equations, a little bit of math, and voila!
And remember, in our last video we've showed you a mathematical model with a static rope and told you that creating this similar model with dynamic rope would be extremely complicated. There are so many components like rope stretch, friction at the anchor points, and the belayers being lifted up. But we've got lucky and found a guy who is mathematical engineer and have experience solving similar problems. And we've spent I don't know how many hours discussing and exchanging data back and forth. Well, long story short, he finally came up with a model which led us to emulate fall paths. So Patrick, huge thanks to you, and now let's check the results.
Firstly, we have repeated the same hard falls as last time to see if we will get similar results, just to double check them. The red path on the right side of the screen is the mathematical approximation of the current fall. And the black dot at the bottom is Belayer, and you can see how he is being lifted up by the force or by the magic of the math. And the biggest fall. Again, you can see how longer falls with hard catches results to the climber being bounced back up. Okay, let's see what we got this time. Almost identical speeds again, with the longest fall being slightly better. And this is how the speed is dependent on the slack according to the math. One note here is that having slack close to zero without putting any tension on the rope is practically impossible in real world. That's why we can ignore it, and this is the part that's interesting for us. The difference in this area is very small, meaning that extra slack does not have much effect on the speed. Okay, moving on to the falls with 0.5 meter distance to the anchor. This time we have included the fall that we missed before. So last time we saw that falling more was actually worse and resulted into bigger bounce backs and higher speeds. Let's see if we can reproduce the same here. Yeah, the biggest fall clearly has a huge bounce back. Alright, let's compare the speeds. And yeah, we can confirm that falling more and a hard catch is a bad idea. And the math tells the same. Okay, time for a soft catches. We had to improve our model and include the velocity of the belayer's jump and also to figure out what's the best time for the jump. Here you can see multiple paths of the same fall, with only thing different is the time of the jump. So quite a big difference. And this is how the speed at the impact depends on the time of the jump. What we get out of this is that the best time for the jump is a tiny fraction of a second before the rope starts to tension. You shouldn't feel the rope at that moment at all. But of course, if you jump too early, you might cause a super hard catch. So back to fall tests. Again, let's start from 1 meter distance to the anchor. We can immediately see how much smoother the path of the fall becomes. And also that it doesn't match our model super precisely anymore. This is because executing a perfect jump in the real world is practically impossible. And another thing to note here is that we don't see the bounce back anymore. So it will be interesting to see what effect that has on the speeds. And now we get that falling more reduces the speed by about 25%. And our model shows the same. Let's speed the things up a bit and quickly check the falls with 0.5 meter distance to the anchor. And here we get a similar results, from 25 to maybe 35% of speed reduction. And same here. By the way, 25% of speed reduction means that you would hit the wall with only a half of the energy.
And what if there is a ledge or the ground and you cannot give climber additional slack? Does it still make sense to give him a soft catch?
Well, our math says yes. If we look at reasonably small amounts of slack, we can see that a soft catch could provide a big difference in fall speeds. But in our fall tests, we see no difference at all. Maybe I just jumped at the wrong time, who knows.
And the last question for today. What if the climber is close to the wall but above the bolt?
We didn't do the fall tests yet, but our math shows that extra slack combined with a soft catch reduces the impact. However, if you're a heavy-duty dude belaying a skinny girl and you do a hard catch on these long falls, you might end up with 10 times bigger energy crushing to the wall. So,
what we got out of this is that just having additional slack might not necessarily be enough.
yeah, if the climber is much lighter than the belayer, falling more might actually make the things worse.
Well, if you are talking about 90 degrees vertical wall, combination of additional slack and soft catch produce the best results for us.
Yeah, and if the wall is overhanging, falling more is almost always better.
But you don't want your climber to hit the ground or something on his way, so judge every situation differently.
And one more note, if you guys do traditional climbing, forget all we said, because falling more actually causes more stress on the gear and you're risking the gear to pop out. And personally, we don't do traditional climbing, so it's not in our interest to even investigate this.
And we have more exciting news for you. Remember Max Bigel from the last episode, the German physicist? Well, he contacted us and we will have a conversation on this topic next week. Hey, what are you doing with that knife and ropes?
Well, it seems like that we are going to do more jumps, and this is bad. Basically, throughout the course of filming all the fear of falling videos, we have destroyed this rope so much, and we had to cut it so many times already that it's only 40 meters left of it out of 70 it used to be. So here you have it.
As you might guess, making these videos takes an incredible amount of time.
Yeah, and also the gear.
But the feedback we are getting from you guys is so encouraging and valuable
It's a true learning and sharing back experience for us.
that we just want to make much more. And here we need your help.
Somehow asking for help feels a little bit weird, it's like begging. But hey, we are putting all of these videos out there for free. And if we want to do more of them than we do right now, we need your support.
So we just launched our Patreon page, and if you like what we do, now you can support us by clicking the link in the description. And hopefully we will be able to do more than just a couple of videos a month.
Yes!
So it's really important for us, and thank you in advance, guys.
Thank
you! Thank you, thank you, thank you!